Meaningful play? Well, I do lots of things for fun. I'm better enough, so the doctor gave me permission this weekend to not wear my cast because I fractured my left wrist because I loved roller skating all my life. And some people said, you're too old to roller skate. And they're right. Especially when you have a bad crash and this kid who was going kind of slow and I was going kind of quick and end up falling back. So it's fun to roller skate, for example. I'm a pretty good musician. I enjoy doing all of my musical endeavors and those kinds of hobbies. I enjoy taking hikes with our family. So there's lots of things I find that are meaningful play. The trick is, to really answer your question, is I make sure that all these things are going on. Those are my priorities. I make sure that they're all going on. And I understand very well the problem of depression. We're going to be talking in my second presentation about boundaries. And there we're going to get into how imperative it is that we set up boundaries for ourselves and others in our lives. Okay, so this is kind of the first part. Any questions on this, or can I move forward?
I just ask a quick question about your father-in-law.
Yeah.
Your father-in-law was retired, so presumably he was spending a lot more time in the work quadrant when he was working before he retired, and now he's got the extra time to do his hunting or whatever. So does he also have meaningful work that is retired, or is it shifted, or I'm just curious?
He still does things that he considers to be meaningful. He's a very different personality from me. And so he finds things like doing some farming activities that are fun, that he enjoys, and that I can't imagine me doing. But he enjoys that. So I think that he has these three things going on in his life. Because even if a person's a non-believer, they can be psychologically happy. I don't think they can be spiritually fulfilled. But I do know people who are reasonably happy, and those that are seem to have these three things going on. Maybe you can think of somebody that you consider happy that doesn't. But I can't think of one. Most people have, in various increments, please underscore that, various increments, those three areas going on.
Does it seem important that the three, to some Christians, they're not mutually exclusive, isn't it to some degree a requirement that they be mutually supportive?
I'm sorry, that
They can be mutually supportive?
I think so. If my meaningful play is doing pot and doing women, that's not going to be very meaningful in a positive way, and that's certainly not going to be supportive of my relationships.
And so day in and day out, live in a wet world, you're going to have a hard time totally segregating them.
See, again, we're not totally segregating them. I'm glad you brought that up. We are integrating those things. But those are three things about which I'm focused. I'm aware of those. They absolutely integrate. There isn't a day that comes by that I say, okay, today's meaningful play, and so I'm out of relationship with Christ today. I'm not going to worry about my wife and family. I'm certainly not going to be concerned if somebody calls with an emergency. They don't work that way. They are integrated. But I think what we need to do in a broad kind of way is develop a mindfulness. That's a fancy new psychological term that's just hip and it's every place, so I want to use it. So I sound like an old fossil. I have a mindfulness of these three areas. So thanks for that question. That was good.
Jeff, can I just add something? And I know you and I have talked about this in the past. With the, I've known Jeff for quite a long time, and he's helped me in my life. And what's helped me immensely with those three is a great example is I'm a real estate agent. But one of the things that I'll do and it's become now, you can call it a hobby, I'll deliver pizzas. And the great part about it is I've seen that as a ministry, like everything we do, I feel is a ministry. And it incorporates all of those items into one, where I'm meeting people and having meaningful relationship. It's fun, I'm having meaningful play, and it's work. And it's meaningful work. And it's just a different mindset. So that, what I found, the more I use these tools, the more it gets integrated. And it'll start bleeding into that work, that play, and pretty soon you're going to be asking yourself, boy, how can I, it's just finding the time, and the time will come. It's amazing. It's every day you just have to dive into it. Every day.
Paul, I want to thank you, because the next time I give this talk, I'm going to say I know a guy for whom delivering pizzas integrates these.
Do it.
Yes.
Government free.
Great.
Government free.
I love it.
To Bob's point, I think about it, we were talking about mutually supportive, they are not mutually exclusive. But for me, when I stumbled onto Freud's explanation of these things, for me what was real, or what was the reality of this, was what my father did for us. And it was a different time, and it was in a different culture. We were growing up in Costa Rica, and Costa Ricans take life a lot more holistic than we do here and today. But we went everywhere with his work. We were part of his work. As part of the work, we also had fun together. So when we had mining operations in Costa Rica, we went to the beaches, we went to the rainforest, and they all became a big excursion and a big club up with the family. And we were also part of the work as well. I mean, my mother worked for my father, we worked for my father. It was all completely integrated. And what I've been trying to do my whole life is trying to replicate that. And it's a lot harder here to do that. So I think we like, especially here in the U.S., we like to segment into categories. So we tend to look at meaningful play as very specific, separate from the rest. Meaningful work is separate from the rest, and relationships are separate from the rest, and that be distinct. My struggle has been trying not to do that.
It's got to be tough, though. I mean, you're waking up and going to work before the kids are up. It's dark out.
Yeah.
I mean, you get home in time to have dinner with the family and get the kids and put them to bed, during the week.
Yeah.
So I think that indicative for almost all of us here is a similar scenario. So it puts the onus on us to make those weekends count. Then you find yourself running ragged on those weekends, trying to get that family time in, trying to have those meaningful relationships, because when Monday comes, it's game on again, back to your secular life,
Isn't that the very definition of the problem? You're working so hard to do one of them to make up for the loss of the other.
Yeah.
It's more like the thin pieces of your town. What you got to be trying to find a way to do is cause them to be integrated by the nature of what it is, not by a force on it. It's never going to survive.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I mean, that's part of our struggle,
And what's interesting is how we're talking about this, because in my mindset, as I go through the workday, I'll ask the question, how can I integrate? Like a great example is, I love to read, I love to take quiet time, I love to listen to sermons, but I also love to go out and run and work out. And at one point I'm like, boy, the workout time's taken away from this time. And I'm like, how can I bring it together? And then I discovered something called a podcast, which we all know. And so I've incorporated that within. And every day it's a challenge where you ask, how can I incorporate? Like you were saying, when you come up here, you were listening, I'm listening to sermons. And it's not that you have to listen to sermons or anything. It's just that challenge of bringing in the three together. And it's always every day that you struggle, like, how you were saying that he goes to work all the time, whatever. I don't know what steps you can take, but it's kind of like, for example, with me, I'm lucky where I'm a real estate agent, and when my daughter was younger, and even now, I bring her with me, and at first I thought, boy, that's going to be a problem, but it's a blessing to bring her in. So it's always that struggle of trying to incorporate all of it together, and it doesn't get easier, but when I find that I'm able to fulfill that, it is very spiritually fulfilling.
I don't want to mislead you in this way. You are not going to do these three items perfectly and absolute equality every day. That's not going to happen. On Monday, you may not be able to hit upon all of these with equalness. It's going to vary. The main thing is I want you to look at your larger scope of your life. Are these three areas being addressed tonight?
I almost looked at those three personally as like meaningful play, like you think of friends, your job, your family relationship, and then like almost would want to add a fourth one to that, which would be your Christian walk. You know, and I think I personally struggle with that because I want to, that fourth one that's in there, when you're trying to incorporate that into the other three, sometimes it doesn't incorporate in there. It's easier to pull it out.
Let's say that we have a fourth one, or let's include that in this one. Now my meaningful walk with Christ is going to affect my work, and in fact make it more meaningful. It's going to affect the things that I choose with which to have fun.
What's critical is the order, though. Christ has to be the head, then the husband, the father, then the wife, and the children. God's order.
Right. That would be the order of one way of seeing the priorities. What I'm doing is these by no means are meant to be considered to be in order, but we're saying that these are three ingredients that you need to have a holistic life.
Mike, on that question over there, I slightly disagree with putting one above the other. As an example, I've got 5 kids, 6 kids, and somebody could ask me, well, which one do you like best? It isn't a matter of best. It's different with each one. I like them all equally. A friend of mine, a cousin of mine, mother, always liked the kid best who wasn't there. There were 3 of them there, she liked it over the best. But the whole point of it is, sometimes I'm going to be spending time and enjoying one, and not necessarily at the expense of the other, but the others aren't there. Do I like? Do I love?
I am listening to that.
And sometimes I may have a ball working, and other times I have to knock off work. I'm tired, and I got to go to town. So it's a matter of all of them together, not one better than the other.
Right now, you just keep coming up with stuff that is motivating to me. To give examples. For example, I'm thinking of a man right now. I know he's a great guy, and his wife's a really great woman. But she's so busy in her particular job and in making tons of money and investments that there's just no time for a meaningful relationship. Availability is a real key in relationship. And so the marriage is falling apart. But she's doing good things. She's doing this for her husband. She's doing it for the kids, and she's really talented and smart. But she doesn't have those 3 foci in mind. Meaningful relationship, she just doesn't have time for that. The meaningful play that time just won't allow. We live in a sick culture. I'm not telling you anything new. One of the problems is that when you work for somebody and work for a company, and I notice this already in even working again in a parish, they want you to sell your soul to them. They want you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that, if you don't set up the boundaries, you're going to experience the problem that creates. If you don't set up your boundaries, someone else will. And that's always a loser, but that's our next discussion.